You want to see the truth in a woman? Pull back. That one sentence right there is all it takes to start a fire. Most men are taught to chase, prove, and perform for a woman's attention. But here's the truth. No one wants to say out loud. Nothing flips a woman's switch faster than the moment she realizes your interest is fading. And it's not just about attention. It's about control, validation, power, all of which shift when you start focusing elsewhere. See, in the beginning, when you're all in, calling, texting, planning, she knows the ball is in her court. But the second you step back, she feels it, deeply, emotionally, internally. And her reactions? Oh, they tell you everything you need to know about her mindset, her maturity, and what she really wanted from the start. This isn't about manipulation or playing games. This is about waking men up to the reality of modern dating dynamics. Women aren't oblivious. They're incredibly tuned in to energy. They know when you're not as emotionally available anymore. And many times, that's when the real performance begins. Some panic, some retaliate, some suddenly want to talk about us. Others go silent, confused, unsure how to respond to the emotional shift. And a few? Well, a few will mirror your distance, and that tells you everything you need to know. Men, listen up. You don't lose women by chasing less. You lose yourself by chasing too much. When you start valuing your time, energy, and peace, you'll quickly see who was actually there for you and who was there for the feeling of being wanted. This video isn't about blaming women. It's about exposing behaviors no one wants to admit and helping you decode what's really going on when a woman starts reacting to your shift. And if you've ever wondered why she suddenly changed or why she's acting strange now, this might give you the clarity you never knew you needed. So stay with me, because this one might sting. 1. She gets louder. When you get quieter. When a man starts pulling back, less texting, fewer calls, slower replies, her volume goes up. Not necessarily in her voice, but in her actions, her attitude, her presence. Suddenly, she wants to talk more. She starts asking questions she never asked before. Is everything okay? You've changed. Why are you acting distant? But here's the kicker. She wasn't saying all this when you were fully available. She wasn't asking these things when you were showing up consistently. Why? Because she felt in control. She knew you'd show up regardless. You were dependable, predictable, safe. But the moment she senses you're not chasing anymore, that control starts slipping, and that's when things get loud. Now she needs to reestablish her influence. Not necessarily because she loves you deeper, but because she's losing the emotional advantage. For some women, your silence is a threat, not to the relationship, but to the feeling of being desired. And when that feeling fades, insecurity takes its place. So what does she do? She tries to provoke a reaction. Maybe she accuses you of not caring. Maybe she tries to bait you into defending yourself. Or maybe she starts opening up emotionally, saying things she never said before, hoping you'll lean back in. And a lot of men fall for it. The moment she turns up the heat, they go right back to chasing. But here's what you need to realize. Her volume isn't always vulnerability. Sometimes it's just strategy. Sometimes it's about restoring what she thinks she's losing, not who she's losing. If she truly cared for you, that effort would have been consistent. But if it only shows up when your energy drops, that's not connection, it's control. One guy pulled back after months of constant pursuit. The calls stopped. The attention faded. Suddenly, she was texting paragraphs, liking old pictures, asking if they could talk. All of it came after he went quiet. Before that, she was distant, dry, uninterested. Men, pay attention to timing. Her reaction to your silence tells you what your presence really meant to her. And sometimes, your absence will expose more than your presence ever could. 2. She starts posting like a free agent. When she senses your attention is slipping, suddenly her social media turns into a stage, and she's the star of the show. You've seen it before. The thirst traps, the sudden gym selfies, the captions that scream, unbothered, but feel forced. She's not doing it for self-love. She's doing it for a reaction, yours specifically. Women know the game. They know what kind of photos get attention. They know how to look accidentally perfect. And when you're pulling back, she's not trying to win your heart back. She's trying to remind you what you're walking away from. Here's where most guys mess up. They bite. They see the story. They like the post. Maybe they DM something playful. Boom. She knows you still care. That little spark of interest is all she needs to pull you back in, just enough to keep her validation high, without ever giving you the clarity or commitment you actually want. This shift to free agent behavior isn't always about moving on. It's about being seen. It's about signaling value to you and to whoever else is watching. It's a performance masked as confidence. And sure, maybe she's really living her best life. But ask yourself this: why now? Why the sudden public display of independence only after you stop checking in? Because it's not always about growth. It's about control. And when she feels that slipping, social media becomes the weapon. Now here's the part most men ignore. If she truly respected your connection, her self-expression wouldn't turn into a show just to trigger a reaction. Growth is silent. Confidence doesn't announce itself every 24 hours on a story, so don't get baited. Don't scroll like a detective, trying to decode hidden messages. If she's choosing the public over a personal conversation, she's not trying to fix anything. She's trying to win the breakup. Let her post. Let her perform. But remember, real connection doesn't need an audience. 3. She suddenly misses the old you. This is where it gets tricky. When you start acting different, less available, less predictable, more focused on your own world, she starts reminiscing. But not about the real you. About the version of you that was easier to control. The guy who used to text good morning every day. The guy who was always available, always trying, always proving. Now she says things like, "I miss how things used to be." Or, "You've changed." And let's be real. Yeah, you have changed. You stopped making her your priority. You stopped giving energy to someone who wasn't matching it. You stopped playing the role of the man she thought she could keep on standby. The funny thing is, she never said she missed the old you when she had you. She said it when you stopped showing up the same way. That should tell you everything. This line, "I miss the old you," isn't about love. It's about loss of control. It's a polite way of saying, "I liked you better when I didn't have to try." She doesn't miss you. She misses the version of you that made her feel like a queen while she gave the bare minimum. She misses the comfort, the convenience, the certainty. Let's talk facts. People don't miss who you are. They miss who you were to them. They miss the feeling they got when you were always reaching out, always fixing, always proving. The moment you stop doing that, they start getting nostalgic. But what she's really saying is, "I miss the power I had when you were all in." Don't fall for it. Men who level up will always be told they changed. That's the cost of growth. That's the price of self-respect. If the only time she's appreciating you is when she feels your absence, then it was never love. It was comfort, dressed up as care. You're not the same guy, and you shouldn't be. Because if being the old you meant losing yourself just to keep someone else happy, you're better off being unmissed. 4. She blames you for the distance. Here's the moment where things flip. You pull back, maybe because you're tired, maybe because you noticed the energy was one-sided, and instead of reflection, she points the finger. Suddenly, you are the reason the connection feels off. You changed. You're being distant. And now it's all your fault. But let's rewind. When you were giving your time, your energy, your attention? Where was that same accountability from her? When you were consistent, available, present, did she match it? Or did she get comfortable? Here's the hard truth. Some women only value consistency once it's gone. And when it slips, instead of saying, maybe I took that for granted, they go straight to blame mode, because owning the shift would mean admitting they played a part in it. This is where men need to wake up. You're not selfish for choosing your peace. You're not the villain because you stopped overextending yourself. But the moment she realizes you're no longer making her the center of your world, her ego might not let her process that maturely. So instead, she frames it like you're the one changing for the worse. And many men fall into the trap of defending themselves, explaining, over-explaining, justifying, apologizing for pulling back when they were never matched in the first place. Don't. Let the blame come. Let her say you're acting different. That's fine. Because a man who respects himself will always be misunderstood by someone who was benefiting from his lack of boundaries. Men, it's not your job to be emotionally consistent for someone who was emotionally absent. Let her blame. You don't have to carry it. 5. She tries to make you jealous. This is where things get childish, but very real. The minute she senses you're not as invested, she starts performing again. But this time, it's strategic. She posts with that one guy you both know has been lurking. She brings up a friend in conversation. Maybe she even acts like she suddenly got options. And it's not subtle. It's very, very intentional. Why? Because she wants your attention back. But she doesn't want to ask for it directly. She wants you triggered. She wants you questioning. She wants you chasing again. But let's break that down. If someone really values a connection, why would their first instinct be to provoke you? Because in her mind, jealousy equals interest. If she can make you uncomfortable, if she can get a rise out of you, that means you still care. And once she confirms that, she feels powerful again. It's a power play. But here's the mature response. Don't flinch. Don't ask. Don't investigate. Don't feed it. Because the moment you react, she wins, not just emotionally, but mentally. You've given her proof that she still matters more than your peace. So let her try. Let her post. Let her flex her options. Because a man who truly knows his worth doesn't compete. He observes, and he chooses peace over performance. 6. She gets confused about what you want. Here comes the classic move, selective confusion. The second your energy drops and you stop chasing like before, she suddenly doesn't understand what's going on. She's confused about where you stand. She's not sure what you want anymore. Are you still into me? Do you even care? You're sending mixed signals. But let's be honest here. She wasn't confused when you were double texting. She wasn't confused when you were always available, planning everything, checking in constantly. Back then, the message was clear. You were all in. So what's she really saying? She's not confused. She's uncomfortable. Uncomfortable with no longer being sure she's got you in the palm of her hand. Uncomfortable with your new silence. Uncomfortable with the fact that your energy no longer revolves around her moods, her pace, her schedule. Her confusion isn't about your words. It's about your shift. She feels the emotional distance, and instead of adapting to it or stepping up her own effort, she plays the confused card to draw you back in emotionally. She knows exactly what's changed, your behavior. But if she admits that, she has to also admit she didn't do her part. That's harder to own. So instead, she frames your withdrawal like you're the one being unclear. But let's flip that back. Where was her clarity when you were all in? Was she giving the same energy you were? Was she matching consistency with consistency? Or was she floating, enjoying the attention without actually committing? Men, don't fall for the "I'm confused" act. It's not confusion. It's discomfort with the fact that the emotional power has shifted. You don't owe constant explanations just because someone got used to a version of you that no longer exists. If she really wanted clarity, she'd match your energy. But if her only move is to question you instead of step up for you, then she's not trying to build. She's trying to regain control. Keep it moving. Clarity doesn't come from being more available. It comes from paying attention to what happens after you stop giving it all away. 7. She reminds you of how good she is. When your interest drops, her ego kicks in, and suddenly she becomes her own hype woman. Now she's telling you everything she brings to the table, how she held you down, how any man would be lucky to have her, how she's a rare one. She might even start listing the things she did for you, as if love was a transaction and you've somehow forgotten the deal. But here's the thing. If you have to keep saying you're valuable, something's off. Real value doesn't need a speech. This is often her way of trying to reset the dynamic. If she can remind you of how great she supposedly was, she thinks she can guilt you into feeling like you're making a mistake by pulling back. Let's be clear, though. If you genuinely appreciated her, you would have shown it. But if her energy changed only after your interest shifted, then all that value she's talking about might have just been conditional. And here's what most men overlook. Someone who constantly reminds you of what they did for you is often someone who wasn't doing it from a real place. Because people who give with heart don't keep score. Now, this doesn't mean she didn't bring anything to the table. Maybe she did. Maybe she really was loyal, supportive, consistent. But if all of that was genuine, it wouldn't come up after you pulled back. It would have been part of an ongoing mutual connection. The sudden need to advertise her worth says more about her self-esteem than it does about your judgment. And let's be honest, if she was really that rare, she wouldn't have to remind you. You would have felt it already. The moment a woman starts selling herself like a product, it means she knows she's losing emotional leverage. Men don't get caught in emotional marketing. When a woman has to convince you that she's a good woman, ask yourself, was she being one or just talking like one now that she's losing access? 8. She tries to rebuild control. Now this is where the game gets subtle, but deep. When she realizes your attention is slipping, she doesn't always panic or act emotional. Some women go strategic, quiet, calculated. They don't try to win you back with love or vulnerability. They try to re-establish control. This might look like her becoming overly calm, saying things like, "It's fine, I'm good either way," or "Do what you want, I'm not pressed." Sounds chill, right? But that calm? It's not peace. It's position. She's shifting into a mode where she can manipulate without it looking like manipulation. This is the dangerous part. She starts using your silence against you, not through arguments, but through indifference. She acts like nothing bothers her. She mirrors your distance. She pretends she's just as unbothered. But deep down, it's a test. She's watching to see if you flinch first, if you'll reach out, if you'll break the silence, if you'll chase the connection again just to fix her sudden coldness. It's not love. It's chess. She may even start acting like she's better off now, like your absence gave her clarity, like she's healed overnight. But again, that's not growth, it's strategy. Because in her mind, if she can get you to chase her again, she regains emotional control. The shift goes back in her favor. And here's the raw truth most men miss. If she really cared about the relationship, she'd talk to you, not position herself against you. This part hits hard for a lot of guys because it feels like emotional warfare. You pulled back to protect your peace, and now she's trying to outdo you in silence just to prove she doesn't need you. Not to protect herself, but to win. But men, hear this clearly. The woman who loves you will reach for you. The woman who needs to control you will wait for you to crawl back. Don't confuse stillness for growth. Some women aren't quiet because they've moved on. They're quiet because they're calculating. Stand on your shift. Don't fall for the cool girl rebrand. If she wasn't showing emotional maturity before you pulled back, her calm now is just a mask. 9. She tells her friends, you're acting off. This is when the private shift between you two suddenly becomes public conversation, but not with you, with her friends. You pull back, you go quiet. Your energy drops. And instead of talking to you directly, she starts talking about you, to her inner circle. He's being weird. He's changed. I don't know what's wrong with him. He's giving mixed signals. Notice the pattern? It's never, maybe I didn't meet him halfway. Or, maybe he got tired of always showing up first. Nope, you're just acting off. This isn't just gossip. It's a form of control. By taking the story to her friends, she's shaping the narrative. She's making sure if things fall apart, she's the victim and you're the villain. She gets sympathy. You get judgment. And maybe, just maybe, she's hoping word gets back to you. So you feel the pressure to fix things. And let's keep it real. She knows her friends will ride for her. So now, you're not just dealing with her perception of your pullback. You're dealing with the opinion of a whole group chat. Here's the deeper issue. If she can talk to everyone else about your behavior but can't bring it to you, she's not looking for resolution. She's looking for reinforcement. And most men don't catch it until it's too late. They get blindsided by side eyes, random unfollows, or awkward encounters. All because she built a story that made her feel safe and made you look like the problem. Men, if she won't talk to you, but she's talking about you, that's not maturity. That's performance. Real women communicate. The rest narrate. And here's a hard truth. If she's quicker to involve her friends than she is to involve you in the conversation, ask yourself, was she ever really building something serious or just playing for validation points? Keep your peace. Let her group chat be the therapy session. You don't owe an explanation to people who were never in the relationship in the first place. 10. She moves on. Fast, but not really. Here it is. The final move. The dramatic exit. The I'm good, I've moved on phase. After you pull back, she suddenly claims she's done. Emotionally detached. Ready for the next chapter. Posting quotes about healing, independence, new beginnings. Maybe she even hints at someone new, or jumps into a situationship just fast enough to make sure you hear about it. But let's break this down. Real healing doesn't move that fast. Real closure takes time. What you're seeing isn't peace, it's performance. She's not moving on because she's over it. She's moving fast because she's trying to get ahead of the pain. And more importantly, she wants you to feel it. She wants you to see that she doesn't need you. But here's what she doesn't say. If you truly didn't matter, she wouldn't need to prove it. Moving on loudly is still about you. Every over-the-top post, every cryptic quote, every forced smile, it's a message, not to the world, to you. And if you're honest with yourself, you'll realize she's not trying to move forward. She's trying to trigger a response. But here's where strong men stand firm. You don't chase a ghost. You don't battle ego with ego. You watch the noise and you stay quiet. Because when a woman moves on quickly but keeps making sure you know about it, that's not a fresh start. That's unresolved emotion in disguise. Let her act. Let her move on. If it's real, it won't need your reaction. If it's not, your silence will expose it. Men, true power is in detachment. The moment you stop needing to prove anything, you've already won. Here's the truth no one wants to admit. Sometimes a woman's biggest fear isn't losing you. It's losing the version of herself she could control when you were still chasing. Let that sink in. The moment you step back, stand firm, and stop feeding the dynamic that made her feel like the prize without ever matching your energy, everything shifts. And her reactions? They're not always about heartbreak. Sometimes they're just about ego. Fellas, if any of this hit home, drop a comment below. Tell me what you've experienced. I'm not just here to talk at you. I want to hear from you. I read every single one and I'll be replying personally. Let's connect. You're not crazy for pulling back. You're just finally seeing things clearly. And once you see it, you can't unsee it.